So can you please explain the logic behind self-inquiry?
This practice of self-inquiry or self-investigation, the term Bhagavan, the Sanskrit term Bhagavan used is vichara, the Tamil word equivalent Tamil term is natam. Though these are often translated as inquiry, it's inquiry in the sense of investigation, not inquiry in the sense of asking questions. So generally I prefer to use the term investigation rather than inquiry, because I think it's a more precise term. And also we can investigate ourselves. We can't inquire ourselves. We have to inquire into ourselves. Or it becomes a bit more complicated when we use either the verb inquire or the noun inquiry. Investigate or investigation is more simple, direct, and more appropriate in this context. So Bhagavan has said that 𝘫ñā𝘯𝘢-𝘷𝘪𝘤ā𝘳𝘢, who am I, is the principal means. 𝘫ñā𝘯�vicāra, as I said, that means awareness investigation. And what is the awareness that we have to investigate? It's the awareness I am. That's why he calls it the who am I, the investigation called who am I. That is, we are investigating ourselves to know what we actually are. So this is, 𝘫ñā𝘯�vicāra is just another name for, another term for ātma-vicāra, which means self-investigation. So what is the logic behind self-investigation? Well, a lot of the logic behind it has been explained by Bhagavan in this first paragraph. But happiness is our real nature, and therefore in order to experience that happiness, which is our real nature, and which we experience daily in deep sleep, which is devoid of mind, we have to know ourselves. And in order to know ourselves, we have to investigate ourselves. If you want to know anything, what's the means of knowing anything? You have to investigate it. How do we investigate ourselves? We investigate ourselves simply by attending to ourselves, by closely observing ourselves, by looking at ourselves to see what we actually are. Looking means, obviously I'm using it here in a metaphorical term, it's not with our eyes, but we are looking, it's with our inner attention that we are looking. So what is the logic behind this? One reason we need it, as I say, Bhagavan has one logical reason for investigating ourselves. The principal logical reason is given by Bhagavan in this paragraph, but since happiness is our real nature, in order to experience happiness, we need to know what we actually are. And in order to know what we actually are, we have to investigate ourselves. But don't we already know what we actually are? I know I'm Michael. What more is there to know about me than this? This is where we come down deeper into Bhagavan's where we deal with other core aspects of Bhagavan's teachings. That is, we are all aware of ourselves as I am this body, I am this person called so and so. This awareness, I am this body, though this seems to us to be real. I seem to be this body. The awareness I am this body is so strongly rooted in me. So why should I doubt that I'm this body? Bhagavan points out very simply, we cannot be anything in the absence of which we can exist. So since we can exist in the absence of this body, we're aware of this body in waking. In dream, we're aware of ourselves as some other body. In sleep, we're not aware of ourselves as anybody, but we're aware of ourselves in all three states. Since I am now aware of myself, without being aware of a body that I mistook to be myself in dream, that body cannot be myself. Likewise, since when I'm dreaming, I'm aware of myself without being aware of this body cannot be what I am. Because if this body were actually what I am, I couldn't be aware of myself without being aware of this body. If I and this body were one, if I'm aware of I, then I have to be aware of the body. But since I'm aware of I, since I'm aware of myself in dream without being aware of this body cannot be what I actually am. but then people may say, okay, we may not be this body, but at least we have a mind, because in both, it's the same, though the body in waking and dream may be different, but essentially it's the same mind in waking and dream. So why shouldn't we be the mind? Maybe the mind is what we actually are. That, for the same reason, the mind is not what we actually are, because we experience ourselves as this mind in waking and dream, but in sleep we don't experience ourselves as this mind. Many people think, oh, but sleep is a state of non-awareness. We're not aware of anything in sleep, so how can we be aware of ourselves as this mind? That is, that also, Bhagavan points out, that is not correct. We are aware of ourselves in sleep. If we were, as a simple evidence for the fact, when we wake up, we say, I slept happily. How do we know that we were in a state called sleep and that we were happy in that state called sleep? If we weren't aware in that state. So there was awareness there. What we were not aware of in sleep was any phenomena. And we were not aware of ourselves as this person or as anybody. But we were aware of ourselves just as I am. Supposing, but many people find it difficult to grasp this idea that we are aware in sleep, because we are so accustomed to associating awareness with awareness of phenomena. In a state where we're not aware of any phenomena, we seem to be not aware. We think, oh, that's a state of non-awareness. But we are aware of having been in a state in which we were not aware of any phenomena. So how can we be aware of having been in that state if we were not aware in that while we were in that state? So we are not, supposing for argument's sake, but sleep was a state of total non-awareness. There was no awareness at all in sleep. We would only be aware of two states, waking and dream, or alternating one after another. We would not be aware of any gap between successive states of waking and dream. But we are clearly aware of a gap, and that gap is what we call sleep. In waking and dream, we're aware of ourselves as a body, and we're aware of phenomena. But in sleep, we're not aware of ourselves as a body, and we're not aware of any phenomena. So we are aware of a state in which we are not aware of anything. We are aware of having been in a state in which we are not aware of anything. How can we be aware of having been in that state if we were not aware when we were in that state? So we all remember when we wake up, I slept. And if someone asked you to describe sleep, oh, I wasn't aware of anything in sleep, but I was there. We were very confident we were there. So we were there, and we were aware, but we were there, but we were not aware of anything else. So we are aware of having been in a state in which we were not aware of anything. If as I say, if there were no awareness in sleep, we would have no way of knowing that we would have no memory of sleep. We would not be aware of any gap between successive states of waking and dream. But we are very clearly aware that there's a gap. Why? Because we were aware in that gap. What were we aware of? We weren't aware of anything. We were just aware. That we weren't aware of any object, any phenomena. We were just aware, I am. That's all. So since we are aware of ourselves in sleep, without being aware of this body or mind, neither this body or mind can be what we actually are. In sleep, we were not aware of any phenomena, so no phenomena can be what we actually are. So what are we? We are only that fundamental awareness of our own existence, which is what alone remains in sleep. And what is the nature of that awareness? Infinite happiness, as Bhagavan pointed out in that first paragraph, because that's why we are very happy to go to sleep, and we feel refreshed when we wake up, because sleep is a state of perfect satisfaction. That satisfaction, the satisfaction that we experience in sleep, is what re-energizes us. Is what charges our batteries, so to speak, and it enables us to wake up fresh in the morning, all eager to go out and look for happiness in things other than ourselves. So Bhagavan proved by simple logical arguments based on our own experience of ourselves that we are not this body and we are not this mind, though we seem to be this body and mind. And that which is aware of itself as I am this body, that is what Bhagavan calls ego. In fact, Bhagavan said ego is nothing but the false awareness I am this body. But he also clarified that when he talks about body in this context, when he says I am this body, he's not just talking about this physical form, because we never experience just the physical form as I. When we experience this physical form as I, no one has ever experienced a dead body as I. It's always a living body. So there's always life in the body. And nobody has experienced a sleeping body as I. It's only a body which is awake. That means a body in which the mind, intellect, and will are functioning. So these five things, the physical form of this body, the life that is animating it, the mind, the intellect, and the will, these are called five sheaths, panchakosha. These five sheaths, Bhagavan says in 𝘰ñā𝘯𝘢-𝘷𝘪𝘤𝘢 verse 5, uru panchakosa uru. The body is a form composed of five sheaths. All the five are, therefore all the five are included in the term body. So when Bhagavan talks about ego being I am this, the awareness I am this body, he's not just talking about this physical body, he's talking about the whole package, the whole person. There's all these five sheaths. Because we never experience one without the other four. And since we experience the whole set of them as I, they are in effect, they're one package. Though we can distinguish physical body is something, life is something, mind is something, intellect is something, will is something. We can distinguish them, but our experience of them, but they are all I. And I is one, so we experience them as if as one. So this awareness of ourself as I am this body, this is ego. But this is not a correct awareness of ourself. It's an awareness of ourself as something other than what we actually are. So since we are now aware of ourselves as something other than what we actually are, we need to be aware of ourselves as we actually are. And since happiness is our real nature, why are we not experiencing the happiness that is our real nature now? Because we're aware of ourselves as something other than that. We're aware of ourselves as this body, not as happiness. So happiness seems to be something other than ourselves, though happiness is what we actually are, and this body is something other than ourselves. We got it the wrong way around. So knowing ourselves is necessary. This is the logic behind self-investigation. This is why we need to investigate ourselves. We need to investigate ourselves in order to experience ourselves as we actually are, and thereby to experience infinite happiness, which is our real nature.